Going on YouTube? Got another knife review. This is of the Benchmade 810 Contego or Contego. Apparently it means shield or something to that effect. It is a black class knife, so it's one that's meant for military or not that you have to be military or law enforcement to get it, but it is supposed to be one of those hard to use knives. This is a huge knife, 4 inches, 3.98 inches of CPM M4 blade steel, which is an awesome blade steel. The only other knife that I have here that uses CPM M4 is my 760 LFTI, which is one of my favorite knives, Lum design. I've used this one quite a bit as a utility blade, and this Tanto, Lum Tanto version has really worked well. I sharpened it once and I just cut through I don't know how many boxes with this one, how much cardboard, and put it to hard use, and this knife is still just blazing through paper like it's nothing. So CPM M4, I'm really impressed with that blade steel. So if you follow my channel, you know that I did a review of the Benchmade Rift, which is uses CPM. Uses 154 cm, kind of like a lot of Benchmades. It had that beautiful two-tone G10. It did have an offering of it in all black G10. And the Rift, you know, I've owned 3 Rifts over my time as a collector, and it is, you know, to me, one of Benchmade's best designs. You know, these knives are designed by Warren Osborne, the maker of the 940. Those are all some of Benchmade's, you know, best-selling knives and all that kind of stuff. And this one, you know, with the reverse Tanto and the wide profile height of this blade and the curvature of this handle as well, reminded me a lot of the Rift. And so when I saw that they were coming out with this knife, yeah, I've gotten rid of all my Rifts, so I thought, you know, with M4, with this blade shape, with the blade size, with the blade thickness, with the handle ergonomics and all that kind of stuff, you know, this is going to be a great blade. And so I really wanted to get this blade as a utility user, and I'm, you know, since I've gotten it, I'm really impressed with it. I really like this knife. There's a couple of little downsides that I'm going to talk about, and kind of just, and I'll talk about how I fixed it up so where I really enjoy this knife now. Here you got my 4-inch, my XM24 from Hinderer, and then here's my military. These are all 4-inch blades, you know, so as they measure up against here. Sebenza as always, you know, that's always what I'm going to compare every knife against. And then I just wanted to use this chance to bust out my Burnley Quaken. I love this knife. It's such an awesome formal gentleman's knife, and I've been carrying it every Sunday. It's just been awesome. So anyway, against these other knives here, you know, the military is a great utility blade. It is that full flat ground, and it tapers to a very thin edge, you know, just like you've seen on all those reviews. It's got the tip down carry clip. Same thing with the LFTI. These are the 2 main reasons why I don't carry these knives that much, especially this one, you know, with the jimping and all that kind of stuff. It really sits in your pocket poorly when you put your hand in your pocket and all that kind of stuff. Military is a little bit more forgiving in that sense, but you know, I do love these knives. I love the look of these knives. But going back to the Benchmade, couple of things well, let's talk about the likes first. You know, one obviously is the M4, the ergonomics of the blade. The thickness of the blade is very thick. With the reverse Tanto, it has this very stout tip. You know, again, you're not going to use it for prying or anything like that, but it is a very capable blade. I'm not sure, the blade thickness is 1.156 inches, so I'm not sure what that translates to in millimeters, but I believe that's about 4 millimeter thickness. It measures up with, it's actually thicker than the military in terms of the blade stock. So I know the military is 4 millimeters. It's got the Cerakote coating, so you can get it either in the black Cerakote. This one is in the satin Cerakote. The black version comes with all black hardware, so this steel spacer is all black, the liners are all black, the blade obviously is black, the thumb studs, the axis lock I believe is still silver, but all the screws and hardware is all black. The pocket clip will be black as well, and it's a deep carry pocket clip like this. So here would be the first one of the things that I don't like. I'll talk about it in a second. This came in a satin steel color. I've burned it, I've fired it up, so it's dirtied up and kind of a brownish flame color. Steel doesn't anodize obviously, but I like it a lot more than the bright silver steel. It's got jimping all around on the steel liners, and they're rounded jimping. But it is pretty aggressive. The steel spacer is also jimped, very grippy, but again, it's not too bad. And then you got jimping here. No jimping on the blade, just jimping on the top over here. And then finally you got a carbide tip for glass breaker. So you can see, just from all these features, it is a very hard use, meant to be a hard use knife, for law enforcement, breaking windows, or just a big blade for defense and all that kind of stuff. That you can see its purpose there. So going to the features that I don't like as it comes out of the box. The first thing is, again, the pocket clip. It's a slightly deep carry pocket clip. It's not very strong. You could make it a little bit stronger, but I have some titanium clips from USA Knife Maker coming pretty soon. So I'm going to be using those titanium clips to be putting on this knife as well as some of my other knives. They're kind of like Emerson clips, not quite, but they are titanium, and they're a dark kind of stonewash color, so I think it'll look a lot better. Right now I've got a little kind of a weenie Benchmade clip on here, just because I'm not a big fan of deep carry pocket clips. So that's the first thing, very small thing. The second is the jimping on the steel liners. I feel like is not very necessary. You've got these this milling, on the handles here, that are pretty aggressive, and it allows for a good grip. You don't really need all this jimping. It's fine, it works fine. The jimping here is fine, but especially on the pads of your finger, on the it can dig in on your finger and cause a lot of hot spots, I guess. If you watch Jay Davis's YouTube videos, he talks about those hot spots. But I think the main hot spots aren't really caused by the jimping as much as they're caused by the edges of this G10 here. These out of the box, just like the Rift, are very, very sharp. They're very, very hard cut, so it makes for a very uncomfortable knife to grab hold of. So that, when I was gripping it and just squeezing it down, would just put all these lines on my hand, and you can see cutting after a lot of hard use. And that's the purpose for me to get this knife, is to use it in a hard fashion. And I could see it being very uncomfortable without gloves. Not so much the jimping, but it's the hard edges that were cut out on the G10. And then the last thing was just the grippiness of the middle portion of the G10. So you can see this is in its original state. I'm pushing my finger. I mean, you can see how much pressure I'm putting on here. My fingernail's turning white, and it's not, it just grips it so much. For me, that's too much. I mean, it really is too much grip. So that's all throughout here. Again, like here, you can see how it just grabs on my finger. So, and that was all the way through here. So here are some of the solutions that I did that have, to me, honestly, have made this knife so much better. The first thing is I sanded down this middle portion of the G10. So it's a lot smoother now. See, I can just drag my finger here. I can't drag my finger at all. Once I'm here, it just drags perfectly fine. And again, I don't feel like I need that much grip. My hands are locked in, in this position. It's not going anywhere. If I stab or whatever, it's not going to make any difference how rough this G10 is. So I've smoothed it out, smooth on this side, so it's not going to tear up my pockets with this pocket clip here. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I took a stone, a sharpening stone, and I started just shaving away the edges of this knife on the top, on both top sides right here, and then both sides here. It's actually rounded out from the box, out of the box on these ends here. So I don't know why they didn't just do that on all, all the way around the knife. But after I rounded out all these edges, where they're a lot smoother and everything, this knife feels great in the hand. I don't feel those lines cutting into my hands and all that kind of stuff. The jimping, it's there, but it's not, it doesn't like really dig into my hands so much where it hurts. If I'm squeezing this way, like doing precision cutting, then this jimping will dig into my finger. But outside of that, it's actually a very comfortable knife if I'm just holding it normally and just slicing through stuff. Reverse grip is totally fine, it's perfect. So those are the three. Actually, so there's one other factor here, and I guess it's not really a fault of Benchmade's. This is a huge knife. Overall length of this knife is 9.3 inches. It uses axis lock, and axis lock is a great lock. However, with a knife this big, it does, sometimes it gets a little bit hard to actuate the lock because you can't, usually, with an axis lock, I feel like, let me get my griptilian here real quick. With my griptilian here, when I actuate the lock, the back of the blade kind of just sits into my palm, so I have leverage to pull on the axis lock and then just pull, and then it's easy to actuate. Okay, so opening, closing, all that kind of stuff. It's just I can do this and then push it down very easily. With this knife, it's so long, and because my hands aren't like huge paws, I can't use that leverage from my palm because it'll kind of just slip out this way. So you have to really grip it from here and then pull the axis lock down. It's very smooth and everything, but it's just a little bit harder to actuate given the size of the handle here. Opening and closing is very smooth and all that kind of stuff. That's not a problem. But again, just actuating the lock is just slightly a pain. So that would be maybe the fourth issue of this knife. If this knife came in like a frame lock style, that would be great. But then with Benchmade's policy, if it was frame lock, then it'd only be tip down carry, which would just suck. So anyway, overall, I think this knife is a great knife. It's going to be a great utility knife for me. I'm going to use it to do all my work around the house and all that kind of stuff. And I'm really excited to see how the Cerakote finish will fare, how the CPM M4 will fare. It's just really cool. The satin Cerakote I think is really, really cool. It's kind of just got this gray texture. You can see how the Osborne logo just shines through. It's really cool. The M4 emblem as well, the Benchmade sign. It's really, it's a hard use looking knife, but it's with the gray Cerakote, it's a classy looking knife. So anyway, so the 810 Contego, for the price that you can get it at, I got mine from KnifeWorks, and you just put in the Benchmade code and you get it's like a steal. Like it's cheaper than the Rift, so I think this knife is way more knife than the Rift. I would easily replace this over the 950 Rift anytime. So you got milled out liners as well. A knife this big too weighs in at pretty much 6 ounces. So it's pretty reasonable for a knife this size. Alright, so anyway, that's the 810, Benchmade 810 Contego. Check it out. It is a great knife. If you make some of those modifications, I think it's definitely worth it. Alright, so you guys take care, and I'll see you guys on the next vid. Alright, bye.